one of my buddies that's a podcaster, and he did a few shows with Matthew North. He asked, or he didn't want his name out there, but he's familiar. He even saw the what is it, the pathology report for Matthew's death,
Okay.
which answered a lot of questions because I kept seeing that he was dead. He was dead. Some people said his body was found in the trunk of a car. I kept seeing all these things, but I couldn't substantiate anything. So to talk to my buddy today, what were you able to find out first?
Well, I was kind of just more piecing like what other people had to say and seeing how many people shared his work. And it was not much. Like over the past few years in the alternative world, not many people have shared his work, which I was shocked about. And then just from talking to people who were his followers, they said that he was found in a car with a gunshot wound to the head. Is that what you heard as well?
Yeah. So from what I understand, that is the scenario because I kept seeing he was dead, but I couldn't. No one was elaborating, or no one was giving me um, actual ways to verify any of this information. But from what I understand now, is that he was indeed in the found in the driver's seat with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A lot of people don't realize, but he did have some mental issues going on,
Hmm.
um, and some of it due to his exposure.
Yeah.
Now, this gentleman doesn't believe that Joe Rogan sent a hit squad, or other lesser figures like a Sam Tripoli. Uh,
Hmm.
but what he does believe, he was under a lot of pressure. Um, he did not like being labeled anti-Semitic based on some of the research findings that was hurting him as a college kid. I mean, he was a young dude, and that's what I was able to uh, find out, and it made sense. The way my friend put it, and this gentleman that gave me this information is a very, very trusted friend. We have each other's cell phone numbers. I
Hmm.
trust this guy. I mean, his work is regarding other subjects such as Jeff Epstein and whatnot is on point.
Hmm.
Real top level guy. And I had no idea that he had collaborated with Matthew North in the past. I just ran into him in doing research on Matthew North, and I was like, whoa, my buddy.
Are you able to say who it is or no?
I don't think he wants his name connected at
Okay.
this point in time.
That's
So
okay.
yeah. And I had a respect for him.
Sure.
And because I asked him, I go, do you want, let's do a show on it? Because we had a 2 hour
Hmm.
conversation today. And I was
Hmm.
like, man, people would have loved this, but he doesn't. He's got other things going on. And he
Yeah.
feels like he's moved away a little bit, from that, because this was a few years ago. Obviously, if he did a show with Matthew North, I mean, we're talking well over in excess of 5 years ago at this point in time. And so yeah, that resolved some of the nagging questions that I had in going down this rabbit hole. Was he taken out because of his expose on Rogan? And from what I understand, more than likely it was a lot of pressure, on a young man, and
Hmm.
probably saw his way out. But that's not to discredit any of the previous work that he did. He did phenomenal research when it comes to Joe Rogan and who funds him and whatnot.
Exactly. Why do you think that his work hasn't been shared more than it should be? Because now this is becoming mainstream topic of conversation on X, where people are saying Joe Rogan is controlled opposition, Alex Jones is controlled opposition, but nobody really has the proof. And this kid did. Like, why is his work not circulating more? Is it because people are afraid to share it?
Well, it's funny that you say that. So I had a somewhat similar situation to what Matthew North um, is going through. Uh, and it was exposing this gentleman called Sean Atwood. I don't know if you've heard of him,
Hmm.
but I exposed him as a fraud, a grifter, and a liar. And I had people coming after me, trying to
Yeah.
dox me. And uh, for a long time, I couldn't even announce who I was going to have on my guest because there was people contacting these guests. Oh, Weezy's a racist. He's a crackhead. Just everything they could to try to get my guest to cancel on me and no show me. And so it's nothing like going after Joe Rogan. I
Hmm.
mean, Sean Atwood to Joe Rogan, it's like, you know, it's minuscule. But having gone through that, I I have seen similar things. So when you go after these bigger quote unquote fish, you're gonna have a lot of people come after you. You're gonna have things scrubbed. I mean, try to find information on Matthew North. I mean, it was only through a personal contact that I was able to get a little bit more details on it. But trying to
Hmm.
do your own research on these search engines, you can't find anything. Adding to that mystique, adding to that mystery, and I think it's done by design. Uh, just right now, right before we went on there, Joe Rogan asked a question on X, and I just replied. Matthew North, I'm sure, would have had some interesting insights to this
But
question.
that's what we need to
So,
be doing more of.
yeah,
Like that's why I'm I'm actually a little ashamed of myself that it took me 5 years to find this freaking video because I go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole and I'm like it took me this long to find it. Steve, welcome to the show. You found this video a long time ago and you shared it, so you're always ahead of the curve.
Thank you, Kristen. It's very, very nice to meet you. And I'm
Likewise.
sorry for being a little late. I have Corey Hughes is doing a barn burner 5 hour presentation on my channel right now. Um, that started a couple hours ago, and I had to grab another laptop and move
No
some stuff
worries.
around
I
a
know.
bit.
I know what it's
Uh,
like.
but yeah, no, and look, uh it was rough to watch that presentation 3 or 4 years ago and then have to like be like, okay, well, a lot of this lines up, and then be like, I have to maintain the intellectual integrity and the personal integrity, given the fact that I have friends, like personal real life friends that are connected to the Rogan sphere and still share it. But in order to be able to wake up in the morning and look at myself in the face in the mirror and be like, okay, I know you're still doing okay. I had to do it. So this whole thing is particularly, and Weezy is chin checking, um, like one of my, yeah, honestly, one of my best friends in this thing, and Sam Tripoli.
I love
Um,
Sam's work.
and I don't have a show without Sam. I don't,
Yeah.
and I don't think like the connections or the assertions that Matthew is making about Sam is way. I've looked into it, dude. It's way more speculative than correlative, but I'm open to it. I'm open to it. You know what I mean? Like he's headlining my festival in 2 months. Sam is.
Yeah. Well, I know what it's like because I mean, I lived in LA for 10 years.
Hmm.
I was in the mix. And when COVID happened, that's when I was like, I have to keep my integrity and throw my career away. And now
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with my life. And that's when I reached out to Iconic and I started producing some documentaries for them because I was like, I don't know what direction my life is gonna go in now that I'm telling the truth. But
Well,
that doesn't mean because I was in LA and I've rubbed shoulders with certain people that I am guilty
yeah.
of anything. So I understand what you're talking about with Sam because I'm lesser known, but I'm no different in that way.
And God bless David and God bless Gareth. They're tremendous human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those guys are, I don't know. They're solid. They are.
Yep. Yeah, that's sort of why I took the route that I did. I wasn't, I was kind of behind the scenes over the past 5 years and watching what the real players were doing, like yourself. I've been a huge fan of your work for a long time.
Oh,
And
sure.
I've kind of been seeing who's real and who's not. And then I decided to step out when the time was right, which is now. And that's why I think it's important to share Matthew North's work now because it's so relevant and people are catching on to the hijacked alternative media. It doesn't mean that Joe Rogan is a bad person, but he does have corporate interests that people need to be aware of.
Well, I have this last week has been uh, insane. The last couple of days, especially, I've been going really deep, trying to consume a lot of Matthew North material as I could. And Steve came in a little late, but I was, um, telling Kristen that I spoke with someone. It's someone that is a mutual friend of ours. Had a 2 hour conversation with him today, and it answered some questions regarding Matthew North and also kind of it didn't stop that curious take that I'm taking on the Matthew North Rogan uh, sphere, if you will. It's pretty wild the way it's shaking up in my mind right now. I want to do further research before you know making some real bold, super bold claims, but things are checking out, and it's wild because what I'm seeing. And before you came in, I was telling Kristen about my expose on Sean Atwood. That's what propped me. That's what helped people get to know me.
Hmm.
And Sean Atwood is nowhere near a Rogan level. It's freaking tiny. But having gone through that ordeal, I can understand some of the workings going on here. That's what I'm trying to say. I see people coming in trying to discredit you because you're discrediting, daddy. And what I what I have seen is you'll see smaller level individuals covering up for the slightly higher level individuals. Those slightly higher individuals then make a pass and excuse and cover up for higher individuals than them, and so on and so forth. It's almost like gosh darn Ponzi scheme, if you will,
Well,
where
that's the way our planet works. Like the
yeah,
triangle, like this,
yeah,
even if you are not an evil person, it's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And then evil ends up coming into the picture at some point. You
whether
know what I
knowingly
mean?
or unknowingly, yeah,
Exactly.
100%. And that's what I mean, that's a normal thing, I guess, of human nature. But this is what I'm seeing here going on with this Matthew North. And I think Rogan does indeed wield a lot of power, but ultimately, he's beholden to a far larger power than him. And this is one of the things that Steve and I spoke about last week, where I have been listening to Rogan for I want to say about 10 years. Every single episode, I haven't missed a beat. Even the most boring episodes I've watched from, listen from start to finish because that's
Mhm.
how huge of a fan I once was. And to realize, this is the last few days to realize that holy crap, I've been getting played this whole entire time. I saw the warning signs. You know, he often talked about UBI, universal basic income, and how we must integrate with AI. He's been talking that for years, but I'm like, maybe he just doesn't know any better. Let me give him the benefit of the doubt. The writing has been on the wall for the longest time. And now going through Matthew North's videos, which are from 2019, where he called out the Kanye West fiasco. He called out the Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. He's all these things that he called out 5 years ago are now verifiably true. So it's been insane for me personally as a huge Joe Rogan fan to be like, holy crap, I got played. And it's not easy to admit that.
No,
But
it's not.
I've had
It's
to come to
not.
terms.
I know. I feel the same way about Alex Jones. I had been listening to him for years. And then it was 2, 3 years ago that I was like, this isn't looking too good, but I still kept listening anyway. And now it's pretty obvious that he's controlled opposition. I don't know whether that's been the long-term plan or whether something changed along the way, but I feel the
Bill
same way.
Cooper, Bill Cooper said he was controlled opposition in
Yes.
2001.
Yep.
And then they shot Bill Cooper in his doorway.
I know.
Eh, and now that he's Ozempic Jones and not Alex Jones, he's full on Ozempic Jones at this point. Like, all he does is Elon porn all day, every day. It's kind of sad to watch. It really is. Like, he's fell so far. And that's not to say that like Harrison doesn't do good work. That's not to say that Rob Dew isn't doing the best he fucking can. You know what I mean? Like it, but holy shit, Alex Jones is really bad right now.
He is. And I don't know whether, like I said, I don't know. Has that been the long-term plan? Or because he is linked to people like Joe Rogan, like, has that been the long-term plan? Or did something change along the way? What do you guys think?
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So after the lawsuit, um, and him, you know, having to settle out over the Sandy Hook stuff, he changed the okay. Well, okay. Let me preface that with from 2016 on when he was just a Trump cheerleader and didn't do regular content after that, it started to get bad. Post Sandy Hook lawsuit, it was terrible. And I really think that he's looking for somebody like Elon to buy InfoWars, and I won't be surprised to find out down the road that Elon owns InfoWars. Like that, Alex Jones is one of the penultimate entertainers of our time. He's great, but fantastic entertainer, fantastic comedian, fantastic performer. But it, that's where it ends. Like he's not a newsman. He's not, like he's not somebody that is actually interested in delivering truth. He's not somebody that cares one way or another about what he's talking about. Every day it's breaking. Here's some shit you knew about 3 weeks ago. Breaking. Here's something that isn't actually going to happen. And he's predicted all kinds of stuff that has just never come to pass. Here's why. RFK is never going to be HHS. Here's why Donald Trump, the Democrats are doing this to Donald Trump to prevent the election. No, they're not. They're not. You're sensationalizing because you need to make a buck because people aren't buying the supplements this week. I don't know.
No, that makes total sense. I think at some point, if I had to guess, he became a change agent um, to create the alt-right media and create the split between the right and the left and make it further and further. And now there's a rift between just the alternative in general, and he's a part of that too. So it's
Mhm.
like creating this split constantly, which, we all know if we can't join together as a human race and overlook the political differences that we have and whatnot, then we're not gonna get ahead. And Alex Jones is playing into that divide.
When he had David Icke on last year, and David was like, dude, like, please, to just listen to me, like, hear what I'm saying and don't react to what you think I'm saying. That should have been a game changer for a lot of people, and I really hope it was because Alex showed his whole ass during that interview, and David was had like biblical patience as far
I
as that.
know. I know. I
It
know.
was wild to watch.
It was.
Yeah, I think
Are you talking about the one with the Adrian Dittman
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wheezy,
Yeah.
did you see that one?
yeah, I did. I heard it.
Yeah.
It, I think I was working and it came on as a live space and I tuned in. It was pretty entertaining. You must admit. I mean that's the thing with Alex Jones. You can say what you want. You can say this and that. You can't deny the man is hilarious and entertaining. I mean, he cracks me up. Uh, some of the best Rogan episodes ever have been with Alex Jones. I mean, the guy is hilarious. And when you take a step back, I mean, look at Trump. Trump is the same way. He's hilarious. He's a character. And these are the perfect tools to push agendas. You use characters like these. I mean, Rogan, he's a man allegedly of many hats. He's a allegedly a comedian. I've never found his comedy. I've always loved him as a podcaster. His comedy absolute horrible.
I
I've never
agree.
I've never laughed at a single joke.
Me
I don't
either.
understand the people that find him funny, but I mean to each their own. That we have different comedic taste, I suppose. And when it came to his UFC commentating, I thought he did a fairly good job. When it came to podcasting, 100 out of 100, you know. And now in with all the new research that I've dug up, as well as going back through my memory banks over the years, listening to who knows how many thousands of hours of Joe Rogan content, it feels like Rogan was a perfect tool for the centrist crowd because
Mm-hmm.
he appeals to the left, he appeals to the right. And most people, if we're being honest, it's the loud extremist on the fringes of both sides that we hear about. But I feel by and large, most people fall towards the middle. We try to reason, we try to be rational. And Joe Rogan represented that, has been representing that for well over in excess of a decade now. And now that I feel like I've been played this whole time, it was an excellent grift. I bought into it. I would justify him talking about basic income. I would, anytime he brought up the positives of AI, integrating our minds with AI, which is what he's pushing with his friendship with Mr. Musk, something that Mr. Ike has been denouncing and very loudly, if I may add. I mean, yeah, it seems apparent that's the vehicle. The Joe Rogan experience was the vehicle to help mold and manipulate the minds of a huge chunk of the centrist population.
I agree. What do you think that we can do? Either of you can chime in. What do you think that we can do to offset this? Because we don't want to be in constant battle with the people who are following the controlled opposition, but we want to like softly lead them, like, hey, this is kind of what's happening. How are we supposed to go about that?
Uh, Kristen, the only thing that we can really do is lead by example, and show people that it doesn't have to be this way. And to that point, um, I started throwing these events called the Third Eye Carnival. And what it is it's people gathering in friendship and fellowship, are surrounded with live music, live comedy, and live podcasts with real conversations with real people. And in Nashville in a couple of months, also church. And all you can do is prove to people that it doesn't have to be this way. And I think that that's realistically when you put your best effort forward, that's the best you can possibly do. You can divest from international banking cartels. You can buy your food from local ranchers and local farmers. You can have a handshake relationship with the people who are breaking their back to feed you. And that's what we get. Like sometimes you have to go old school or low tech in order to get away from it. But I think if enough of us do that, we're going to have a significant impact. And you can see this play out with all of the people who are trying to sell you beef boxes on Instagram every day. You can see it in the fake mainstream alternative media. It's people who are pretending to be us every day.
Yeah.
So I like they recognize that we're doing it right.
That's
So
that's everything in true grassroots movements. They end up getting hijacked. They end up getting hijacked, and then like you called the Joe Rogan experience the Laurel Canyon 2.0 hijack. That the hippie movement, people don't realize that was a CIA operation. Maybe it was originally based on something in truth, but they took it and they ran with it and created it into something completely different. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what's
Occupy Wall
happened.
Street. Yeah, Occupy Wall Street. And more recently, that was from the left. From the right, Save Our Children. There was a huge
yeah,
push by the right, Save Our Children,
I'm
hashtag
a
Save Our Children.
child molester.
Yeah, and who would be against that? But that was even hijacked. I mean, the Sound of Freedom. When you see the all the
Producers.
horrible stuff between those characters behind the movie, The Sound of Freedom. Jim Caviezel was watching. I don't know what you can or can't say. CP
You can say anything that you want.
was Jim Caviezel had to quote unquote watch child porn to get ready to play the role. In what reality, in what world is that okay? It's bananas. And but this was marketed to people as it's to save our children, hashtag save our children. So all these movements that, like you said, they more than likely start organically from a good place. They eventually always, unfortunately, get hijacked. It sucks.
It does suck, but you know what? If you can see things coming from a mile away, this is where I'm not a tribal person, but you have to kind of know your tribe and who is real as fuck and will never waver no matter what. Because I think that's the only way to overcome that, because somehow everything is going to get infiltrated and you have to be aware. So, Steve, how do you keep your awareness with stuff like that? Because you're obviously like 2 degrees of separation from Joe Rogan and you've
Yeah,
kept your shit on point.
I'm 1 degree away.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I am, dude. Again, like one of, my good friends in real life is frequently on Joe Rogan. Kurt Metzger has dropped my name and my show on Joe Rogan a couple of times. It's, um, but I'll never be on for the same reason that Whitney Webb will never be on.
Or David Icke.
Yeah, or David Icke for
No.
that matter. Why Joe Rogan's had a show for 15, 16 years. Why hasn't David Icke ever been on once? That's, that's weird. And it's because we're willing to go ahead and get legitimately messy. We're willing to fuck up in front of our audience. We're willing to, you know, do things in a way that shows everybody the process. And with Rogan, it's all, even when you're like, Jamie, pull that off, it's still like a product. We're not giving anybody a product. We're just trying to have a conversation with people. To the best of our ability to form as complete a picture of the world as we can possibly determine in real time. And that I think is super dangerous as far as that goes, and so I am I I'm really hardwired to be anti-authoritarian. I have a problem with authority. I've always had a problem with authority from the time that I was a little kid. And I've been, locked up. I've had to go sit down for a little bit. I've had the crap kicked out of me by the police multiple times. I come from that Occupy space. I got hit with LRADs in Oakland, Occupy Oakland. Um, and I'm still going. Like you really do have to put me in the ground before I'm going to stop, because I've recognized that there's a significant problem, and that problem is the state. And people who tend to gravitate towards the state won't go anywhere near me. So I'm still gonna, like, every day, I'm still going to push back against that. I'm still going to point out the inherent flaws in governance and government. And I'm still going to be willing to get my neck stomped on or my teeth kicked in or whatever, dude. I don't care. You can't, you really can't do anything to me that hasn't already been done to me. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. Like, we both grew up poor. We both grew up like crap. There's nothing you can take away from me that I haven't already lost. So let's fucking dance.
That's why it is what they're afraid of. It's, when we hear about we're in a spiritual battle, that's your soul fucking coming out and saying,
Mm-hmm.
come on, reptilians, come on, whatever you are, bad boys, I'm not afraid of you. And they do not like that.
Oh man, they do not, dude. And when you're ready to just get in the phone booth and be like, oh, okay, so it's elbows now? All
Yep.
right, well, it's elbows now. That's what we're doing. All right. They don't like that. And I will do that all day, every day, twice on Sunday.
The thing is we need power in numbers. It doesn't have to be a lot of us. Like it can be a small 1% or whatever, but I feel like it's still not in a pessimistic way. I feel like there's still just not enough of us with that drive. And if there's just a little bit more, then we could actually overcome what's coming because it's coming like a train wreck really fast.
I think that I think that there are enough of us. I really do. And I think that what people need is acknowledgement and then permission. And people need other people to recognize that they see the same shit that we see. And then they need permission to talk about it. And that's kind of the whole impetus of the Third Eye Carnival events that I'm throwing, is to allow people to, one, be recognized, and then two, be given the permission to talk about the kind of stuff that we all see. Because I do think that we all see this, and I do think that a majority of us recognize what's going on. We're kept from being able to have real conversations about this. So that's why we're doing these events. That's why we're trying to gather people together in real space and talk about it, like really talk about it. And we've connected with a whole bunch of people who have put forth real-time solutions, who are walking the walk and living that life, and doing the things that we should all be doing to decouple from this massive government overreach, homunculus, freaking AI technocratic bullshit.
I agree. And even though Alex Jones calls out the chai coms when it should be another group of people often, sometimes it is the chai coms. But um, as far as internet surveillance goes, I do see things going in a chai com direction.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about like obviously people like us are, I mean, I'm so shadow banned. Nobody sees my shit, nobody reshares my shit. But what do you think about like where do you see things going in 5 to 10 years from now? Do you see websites just being completely like you can't even go to them? You can't even visit them, so you can't share what we're saying even on our own websites? Do you see it moving in that direction?
I think so, and I think this very topic is related to it all. Uh, we were, especially as a Rogan fan of many years, we were led to believe that he was battling censorship, and that's why he had to go over to Spotify. And when you take a step back and look at it now, it makes perfect sense that that was all a ploy to erase a lot of his back catalog that may be seen as unsavory now that he's bigger than ever. Uh, and when there's plenty of examples where Rogan masquerades as someone that is pro free speech. He's always talking about Elon Musk being, if it wasn't for Elon Musk, we wouldn't have free speech today. Always saying that. And I'm like, that's an obvious bullshit lie, because there are many accounts that are still banned. Some of them for simply talking about what's going on in Gaza. Nothing X-rated about what they're talking about, just simply something that is counter to the narrative that they're trying to push. IDF is good. Everything that they do is good. And if you criticize them, you are an anti-Semite. We're seeing anti-Semitic bills now being pushed and being backed by a lot of the people that claimed that they were for free speech are now applauding these things. And it's masqueraded again because no one wants to be, oh yeah, I'm not on the side of bigots. I'm not on the side of Nazis. I'm not on the side of promoting hateful speech, quote unquote. But people don't realize that that's all a facade. It's being used to further restrictions on our personal freedoms and rights, and they don't see it. They don't. The thing is, a lot of people aren't capable of seeing the bigger picture. They're just looking at what's in front of them right there and right then and going with it. And they don't realize it. I mean, and we all get caught up with it. Like I said, I was a huge fan of Rogan for all these years, and it wasn't only until a few days ago that I really started checking that. I'm like, I'm off that Rogan bandwagon. Um, I now I now see um, that he has been a vehicle. And for the people that outside of this, what I just said may not make sense to some people. They're like, "What are you talking about? Rogan is free speech. Rogan got taken off of YouTube, and he's all these people are coming after them." For those people that still believe that, what I just said makes zero sense. You have to be able to step out of that matrix for to be able to hear what I just said to make sense. I mean, these are vehicles masquerading as people that are on your side, trying to save free speech, trying to save our personal freedoms. Well, wasn't Rogan one of the first ones calling out the mask mandates and all this stuff?
No, 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 he wasn't, dude.
I'm
Not at
just saying
all.
this is I'm trying to steel man our position, Steve. Like this is what some people are thinking as we're speaking. There will be inevitably some people that are like, no, Joe Rogan isn't nothing like that. Let it rip, Steve.
Right. But look, dude, okay. So you can there was January of 2020 where they said there's a mystery illness and you can go to Slow News Day on Rockfin right now and find a conversation that I had with Jason Burmis where we were like, hey, this is hinky. Stuff doesn't add up. This is going to be weird. You can flash forward to July of that year. You can look at The Last American Vagabond with Ryan Christian, where he's breaking this down in real time over and over and over throughout 2020. You have to go to 2021 uh, in October, I think, maybe September, maybe September of 2021 before Joe Rogan mentions ivermectin. And then it opened the floodgates for where the allowable parameters of a discussion could take place in a mainstream media space. And that's what Joe Rogan is right now. He's setting the parameters for any allowable conversation.
Yeah,
The,
like the fact that he says a virus actually existed. Same with Alex Jones. No, it didn't.
Mhm. Well, and I believe Denis Rancourt, who is a Canadian researcher and PhD and very, very smart fella. I believe Denis when he says that it was a pandemic of the PCR test. I
Yeah.
I I haven't had anything put in front of me, and I read scientific papers and stuff like that, like frequently. I haven't seen any evidence that would move me out of that position. It was a pandemic of the PCR test. Kerry Mullins, who was, in my opinion, uh, assassinated for the things that he was talking about, was right. You can fake anything with a PCR test, and we had a bioweapon that was released on the public as a live fire exercise, and then the medical industrial complex kicked into high gear and made a ton of money at the expense of human lives. And that is, in as much as there's a real, Holocaust going on in Gaza, the 35 million people that died to COVID, um, that's a real freaking war crime. And somebody should be held accountable for it. They should be. That's 35 million souls gone. We should talk about it.
We should, but then it's like the next thing happens and the next thing happens and the next thing happens. And a lot of modern day warfare is almost invisible or you forget about it because it moves on to the next thing. Um, my theory on that has always been there was frequency stuff going on through the 5G when the 5G towers went up and we were all on lockdown. Um, because I believe in more of the parasitic element of
Mm,
like I don't believe in viruses at all, basically. I believe it's more parasitic. I believe that there was something released that was almost like a synthetic parasite of some sort. But um regardless, I mean, our immune system was set to fight all of that. I remember getting sick and I was like, okay, this feels a little bit different than a normal cold. It actually does, because at that point I was talking to nurses being like, there is no virus, there is nothing like that whatsoever.
when did you get sick?
I
Can
got sick, it was like uh, so it was April or May of 2020 when this really rolled out. And I think it was like June or July of that year. And I was outside at a party too. And I was kind of like away from people because everybody was afraid to be around one another. And I was outside and I remember thinking, like, why would I get sick being outside, being not even really near anybody? And then I kind of did the chemtrail thing, and I'm like, what if they're just dumping something on us, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I'm in well, currently I'm in the North Bay, but in COVID I was in Santa Cruz County, and we got sick between Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2019,
So at the
and we
very,
got
very beginning.
we got leveled. Never been sick like that before in my life, and never been sick since like that before in my life. Yeah, just trying to, you know, figure that out. And then they came out and said that one of the ground zeros for COVID was San Jose because of the airport. Well, that's half an hour from where we lived in the mountains, you know. And so I do feel like a bioweapon was thrown out there. I've talked to Dr. Will Trebbing a number of times, and he wrote Goodbye Germ Theory. Fantastic book. If you haven't read it, please pick it up. Um, Will says it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's not necessarily that there's no such thing as a virus. It's not necessarily that it's all terrain theory. There's multiple factors that come into play that give you dis-ease. And dis-ease is also spelled as disease. So um, there's a handful to multiple things that come into play when you're trying to consider your health. But the best things that you can do, to bring it back to Denis Ranku, um, and it's hard, but reduce stress as much as possible, eat clean food, and you know, exercise, and that's it. That's the whole fucking thing.
Weezy, what do you
Yes.
think about like the Maha movement following up with what Steve said? Like what's going on with the Maha movement in your mind? Because I've seen alternate agendas, even though they're coming across like they are in the same mindset of Steve when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think the Maha movement is similar to what we spoke earlier. It's a hijack movement. It's masqueraded as oh yeah, it's eating well, dieting and exercising, which of course no one is disputing that, that's bad for you. Of course, that's great for you. But then we're also seeing RFK cozying up with Big Pharma, which a lot of people don't seem to be talking about. I mean, just what was it, a day ago, a couple days ago? He was not anti-vax at all. He was saying vaccines are good. So, I mean, RFK was another one that I almost fell for. I did fall for when he first came on the scene
Me too.
because you know I his father's death, clearly a government hit. It's even more obvious, I would argue, than his uncle's hit. The JFK assassination, because in the RFK one, the forensics do not match with the official story whatsoever. And we are told Sirhan was in front of him, about 10, 12 feet in front of him, and shot at him. But all the death shots came from behind. So, I mean, the official story does not add up at all. So you would think, most rational people, I would assume, would think, okay, RFK Jr. is on our side. The government took out his dad. We have to, and he's been on podcasts. He was on James Corbett's podcast talking about this. Damn. I was losing faith in all these politicians, but here's a guy that he's gonna be on our side. And so I fell for it. I will admit, I got a little excited once again. And you start finding out his Epstein ties. He he can never keep his story straight when it comes to Epstein. Um, his stance on what Israel is doing in Palestine, atrocious. So he's got all these hits against him, but he's been packaged as the guy that wrote the real Anthony Fauci. This guy's against big pharma. He was an attorney that took down these big interests, blah, blah, blah. And it's more nonsense, more fuckery,
Mm-hmm.
if you
He
will,
threw the
because
PhD under the bus in that confirmation hearing too.
Who did he throw under the bus?
Children's Health Defense.
Oh,
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
agreed with the vaccine schedule? Is that what?
It was during the whole Bernie Sanders disavow these onesies. Like that whole moment. But he threw his own organization under I've disavowed myself from them. I don't know what they're doing. I don't blah.
That should say
And
everything right there.
uh and look, I have friends that write for Children's Health Defense. They do decent work there. They really do. And they're trying to do the best that they possibly can with the little bit that they have to work with. You know, it's not a, I don't know, disingenuous website or anything like that. They're they're putting it out there for everybody every day, and they're sticking their necks out. But to watch Bobby be like, I don't know, man. It was a thing that I was involved with, but I'm not involved with it now. Yeah, no, if they have a anti-vaxxer onesie, I don't know. That ain't me. What a freaking coward.
Well, it goes back to that thing of the pyramid structure and where you fall on it. And even if your intentions are not bad, if you fall higher up on that pyramid, you're still beholden to another person or another force, even if you're not bad, which is what I think people like RFK are, maybe Alex Jones, maybe Joe Rogan. They might not be bad people per se, but they are beholden to other interests. Your
So,
sound's up.
what, in your opinion, Kristen, what interests do you think that Bobby or uh, well, let's open it up a little bit to the mainstream alternative media. Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens. Who do you think they're beholden to? Because I have opinions on this, but I
Oh,
would
I
like
think
to.
it's Israel. I think it's Israel. Um,
Okay.
I think Israel and the United States are one and the same. There's really no difference. And we're the bullies of the playground. And that's why they have to answer to Mossad and CIA, even if indirectly, like even if they don't have somebody over them that's like, you've been a bad boy and this is what you need to do. The trickle down theory of what's happening there ends up putting them in a position of um uh public influence, and whether they know it or not, they are controlled by that force. They may not even know it. And I know because I spent 10 years, I spent a decade in Hollywood. And looking back on certain points in my life, I'm like, the things that I felt weird about in that moment, maybe there was more to that. Maybe there was more going on than I could see at first glance. And so they might just be a part of that. Like you would be surprised. I mean, I know there's a lot of people in the conspiracy world who say, "Oh, Joe Rogan's a Satanist. He's this, he's that." Maybe he's actually he might be, but maybe he's not, and maybe he's just a man on the totem pole.
I look, I um what 2 years ago, uh Tim Pool, Tucker Carlson, and Luke Rudkowski uh took a picture together and put it on the interwebs. And they were like, name this boy band, you know. And I said, I called there's a band called Drifting Compass that kind of sucks. But I said, Grifting Compass is what the name of that band would be. And I had a friend of mine reach out to me and he was like, what do you really think that Luke is a controlled op? And I said, I think that he's more of a controlled opportunist. And then I coined that phrase in the moment, and I've done a couple of presentations on controlled opportunists. And these are people who understand the landscape that they're in. Like, you know how to keep a YouTube channel. You don't say anything that's, well, Sam Tripoli calls it safe dangerous. You can
Mhm.
talk about safe dangerous. but you can't talk about dangerous, and you can't talk about like real shit until somebody like Joe Rogan says it's okay. Again, to go back to the point earlier about ivermectin and that kind of stuff, which in my opinion is, also a safe, dangerous topic because you're still going for a big pharma product when you talk about ivermectin. Um, you're not allowed, and you know that you're not allowed, so you don't do it. So, in order to maintain your success or your career or your revenue stream or whatever it is, you don't say a fucking word about it. And that's the environment that we live in right now, where there's a handful of people that will go outside of that and just get stomped on every day and then get up and go do the damn thing over
Yep.
and over again because it's the only thing you know how to do, you know, or it's the thing that you're best suited to, or because God called you to do it. Sorry, Weezy. I know that, you're a blasphemer. Um,
What is he an atheist?
Yeah, I don't
yeah, Weezy
I
has
don't
a
know if I'm
problem with
an
you.
atheist,
He
but
does.
I don't I grew up believing. I no
Hmm.
longer believe. My views on religion and government are pretty much that they're the same. They feed you
Hmm.
lies. This is my view, and I know the vast majority of the folks that follow me don't believe the way I believe, and that's fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, but I just view them that religion, government, they feed you lies, they feed you BS, and and people will fall in line with whatever dogma, whatever rules they put out, whether they're justified or not. So yeah, um,
I think that you're supposed to have a personal relationship with spirit and with God, and that the institutional church is absolutely one of the original psyops. Yeah, but so I agree with you on that, my friend. I do. I think it's supposed to be something that you come from uh, through your own heart and intent, and what the way that you talk to your creator is what helps guide you. And I think that um, any you know me, dude. You know me. Institution, I'm inherently opposed to that. I
yeah,
am. Like, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna cheerlead for any of that shit, dude. But I think that you can come to it from a personal space and a personal place and have a very sincere and very direct conversation with source. And that, to me, like that source is God, and God to me looks like Frank Zappa, a Laurel Canyon psyop in and of himself. But like, I think we can have a conversation, and I
yeah,
think that there's messages that I get that I wouldn't otherwise get if I didn't have a personal relationship with God. I wouldn't know like there's shit I wouldn't know
yeah.
if I wasn't having these conversations.
And I feel the opposite. I feel the space that I'm
I
at right
know, I
at
know,
this
and I
moment.
still love you. I
Yeah,
do.
and I love you, bro. And,
I
and we're super good friends. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it is a personal thing for me personally speaking. After all the research I have done, and because I used to be really involved, I read the Bible two times over.
My
So
grandparents were missionaries, dude. I went on
yeah,
fucking youth group trips to go do, flood relief projects and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you build community. Yeah, I get it. So I completely understand. For a lot of people, it's comfort and whatnot. I for where I'm at, I'm at peace where I'm at. I don't feel like I need it. There is no good reason that I can find. Maybe to the non-believer, that's complete blasphemy, or to the believer, that's complete blasphemy. What I just said, of course, this is it's the creator, but I I am no longer in that space. I'm in a I don't know even know how to put it. I'm in a different realm these days, and I'm at complete ease and peace where I'm at right now.
That's a good place to be. And I think ease and peace taps you into your true nature and your mission or whatever you want to call it. Which is what I believe is God, is getting in tune with who you are and what you're supposed to do here. Um, I believe that that is the source energy, but whatever people believe, I think that we all need to come to terms with actually most people believe in this in similar things and it's packaged differently and then we're at odds with one another and that's how the program is created, so there's this division so we don't get ahead as a human race.
No, you're absolutely correct. And ultimately, it, I think that, if you walk outside, you take a look around, and you spend a little bit of time in nature, you you can come to the conclusion that something bigger than you made this possible. And I think that so much of what transhumanism is, and so much of what like the the Musker verse is trying to push, is it taking people away from that. And that all life has to exist on, a social media app, or all life has to exist within the confines of the digital prison. And yeah, if I do anything on this show today, I would like to encourage people to go outside and touch grass and get into, a natural environment that so many of us have been um, coerced into not existing in.
I agree. I mean, I think that's why they want us. That was the whole idea of COVID being stuck inside, getting us used to that. I think that that's what's happening with travel. This is why all of these plane crashes are happening. They don't want you going to a place that's like that. If you live in a 15-minute city, no, you're not allowed to go to Montana this week or whatever. They want it's like a slow roll into that digital prison.
Kristen, I got to tell you, it worked for me. We're not flying to Nashville for the party we're throwing in April. We're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not getting on a plane. I'm not. And why would you at this
I
point?
I don't blame you. I'm at the end of that rope too. Like I think that this is maybe going to be one of the last years that I fly at all. Um, and it's a shame because now my family is spread out all throughout the world. My brother's in Dubai. My dad is moving to Australia. My mom's in Philadelphia, where I'm from. Everybody I love is all over the place. So really, when I stop and think about it, I'm like, well, that sucks. Like if we're not flying anymore, we're not going to see one another, and that sucks. But you also have to come to grips with reality. And I'm sorry, I'm not getting on a plane where there like there's no human control
Mm.
whatsoever.
You're Philly?
That's where I'm originally from.
What's your favorite Sixth Street spot?
My favorite Sixth Street, it's South and Sixth Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, South Street was when I was 18 and with my fake ID and that whole deal, going to South
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that
I mean,
we kind of have to be okay with being in our own little bubbles at some point because I do think that that is the reality of it. Freedom of movement is going to change over the next 5 to 10 years.
Until we start merging our brains with Elon Musk brain chip and everything's going to be better. It's going to be a dystopian world, which is what we've been brainwashed into thinking that we've been following Rogan for all these years. Um, it, yeah, I mean, it all ties back into this whole Matthew North, what we started discussing. It directly connects to our, you know, everyday lives and what our future holds for us and what's playing out. Yeah, the psyops after psyops, and yeah, this Rogan psyop is, I gotta admit, pretty top notch. Some of the other psyops that we've seen and Steve and I have covered, uh, clearly nonsense, clearly staged, clearly fake and gay. But other ones aren't so easy to see. They're very, very clever, and I feel this Rogan and through the help of the late great young Matthew North. I mean, the receipts he shows in that video, which I uploaded to my Odyssey as well. Um, I feel like you said at the very beginning, Kristen. I feel that's one small part we can play by mentioning his name. Up until last week when I did that tweet, and someone mentioned these folks, Matthew North being um, one of them. I purposely didn't mention the other name because I found out some rather scrupulous information regarding the other character. But Matthew North, um, their work needs to be found, and maybe through our little organic ways and in sharing and spreading that information, more people will wake up because we are being psyopsed,
well,
especially in this podcast atmosphere. I mean, Joe Rogan is the king of this realm, of the podcast realm, and people need to wake up.
when you wind up dead in the back of a trunk.
It wasn't a trunk, Steve. He
Okay.
was he was in the driver's seat with a
Okay.
self-inflicted gunshot wound. I spoke with someone that has actually did actually do shows with Matthew,
Hmm.
and if I told you the name, you would be like, "Oh, okay." He's a respected guy. His information is
Hmm.
on point,
Yeah.
and it is of his belief that Matthew North more than likely um, took his own life. And it's due to pressures that he was facing. There was a lot of stuff that people don't know about. He also had some mental issues that people don't
Yeah.
realize because
Yeah.
he was a
No,
genius.
I know, I know about that. Yeah.
And but even either way, I mean, it's tragic. I mean, he was a young, brilliant mind. Uh, I mean, the if anyone that hasn't seen that breakdown of Joe Rogan's connections to these agendas, you need to see it. Just go
Just
to an
just
alternative.
look into who owns on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we really haven't even touched on that
yeah,
in the conversation, but look into the entities behind awning, and it should, at least raise a forest of red flags.
yeah, Yeah. And so if you haven't, I would encourage you. I mean, like I said, I do have it on my Odyssey channel. I did upload it, but if you go to an Odyssey, I think Rumble has it as well. Just put in Matthew North, Joe Rogan, and people have mirrored the video and uploaded. It's a very, very comprehensive video. And when you see this kid, I mean, he was only in his early 20s. This was, in my opinion, a young David McGowan in the making, and
Hmm.
it's a tragic the way his life ended. I mean, some people just heard me say what I just said and be like, no, he was definitely taken out. We don't know. You weren't there, I wasn't there. We don't know. What we can agree is that it's tragic because he was indeed a brilliant mind, and gone too damn soon.
I agree. That's why we just best we can do, I guess, is just keep sharing his work because it is so relevant right now. I mean, everybody's talking about who's who, and there's kind of like a neuroticism going on too, where people are criticizing and calling out controlled opposition when they really don't have the receipts to prove it, which I don't necessarily agree with. You can have your intuition and know something doesn't feel right, but you can't really call something out 100% until you have the proof, which Matthew did. And I think that's something important to always bring back in like the true alternative media spaces. Hey, if we're going to call somebody out, we got to have the receipts.
And Steve and I are no strangers to calling out balls and strikes.
I know. That's why I like you guys.
Well, thank you, Kristen. I don't know. I have a show coming up here in a little
Yep.
bit, so I need to get
Yep.
ready.
Yep. We're good.
Are we good?
Yep.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Kristen, and
You're welcome.
see you around, Steve.
Easy. Let's well, we'll connect soon
Yeah,
anyway. But
I'll message you afterwards, bro.
yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Kristen.
You're
You
welcome.
guys
I'll
take
talk
care.
to you soon. Thanks so much.
All right, y'all.
Well, Steve, do you want to close on anything?
Go to amwakeupshow.com if you want to catch up with anything that I'm doing. And if you're anywhere near Nashville, Tennessee in April, come to the party that I'm throwing. It's going to be good. Um, we're doing live music, live comedy, and live podcasts for a couple of days, and it's going to be freaking fantastic. Uh, if you can't make it to the Nashville gig, show up in Pueblo, Colorado over 4th of July weekend because we're going to do the exact same thing with live local bands and a bunch of live podcasts. And it really is all of your favorite podcasters hanging out, having a good time. We are gathering with intent in friendship and fellowship, and I I would encourage anyone and everyone to show up for that. It's been an absolute delight, Kristen. I can't thank you enough. Please come on AM Wake Up.
Oh, I would love to. Didn't you live in Vegas for a while? Because that's where I am
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
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 and
yeah.
that's when I actually first started defying your work. And I'm like, I was just producing documentaries at that time. I wasn't really in the podcast world like I am now. And I was watching your stuff. I'm like, he would be somebody
I
interesting to
lived
talk
like
to.
I lived like 2 blocks down from the South Point.
Okay, okay. So opposite end of town that I'm
Mm-hmm.
on. I'm
Yeah,
I'm kind of in the center of town off of West Sahara. So
yeah.
yeah. But I love your work. Keep doing what you're doing. And then when is the Nashville gig?
April 4th, 5th, and 6th.
And where can they find if they want to go and buy tickets or whatever, where can they
Uh,
find that?
Ticket Leap, and then also if you go to An Artist Collective, anartistcollective.com and click on the events page. There's links to everything. We did just buy thirdeyecarnival.com this morning. So you could go to thirdeyecarnival.com, but we're still building the website right now. An artist, ANARTIST, an artist collective .com, and then click on events, and it will get you everywhere you need to go. I appreciate you. Thank you. And yeah,
Oh,
follow.
likewise.
Let's get you on the show. That'd be fun as shit, dude. I've had a blast. I can't wait to have another conversation.
Me too. Thanks so much, Steve. I'll catch up with you soon.
All right, take care.
All right, thanks.